Welcome to Bandit's Keep. I'm Daniel. Today I want to talk about Vancian magic. You know, every once in a while I'll do a video about systems or about magic or whatever, and generally I get a handful of comments from people that just say things like, I detest, I hate Vancian magic. And it's interesting because I can understand why people like different systems, right? I like different systems of magic. Sometimes I like Vancian, sometimes that's my favorite. Sometimes I'll like, spell points. I've like, mana. I've used all kinds of different systems. But it made me think, well, why do I keep going back to Vancian? Why is it the system that I like the most? And, part of it could be that's just the way I learned. And, that's kind of always an interesting thing. But I think part of it is that, well, let me show you. This is my collection anyways of Dying Earth, right? So this is the Jack Vance. So if you don't know what Vancian magic is, it's magic, the Fire and Forget magic from D&D. It's basically inspired by Vance. So D&D doesn't give us a lot of explanation of how it actually works or why it works or anything else. They just kind of assume that you'll get it. And I think the fact that people don't necessarily get it, based on like, I don't understand, you memorize a spell, that can be weird. So not understanding the background can make it more tricky for people, but I think there's more than that though. And so first I just want to read, I'm going to read for you. Welcome to reading time. I'm going to read a little bit from this because I think this is one of the parts of the Dying Earth that really inspired me and to understand it better, even though I liked it before that. That's why I'm saying this isn't my main reason. So let me just read this to you. Turgeon, remembering this conversation, descended into his study. A long, low hall with stone walls and a stone floor deadened by a thick, rusted rug. The tomes which held Turgeon's sorcery lay on a long table of black steel and were thrust helter-skelter into shelves. These were volumes compiled by many wizards of the past, untidy folios collected by the sage. Leather-bound librams setting forth the syllables of 100 powerful spells, so cogent that Turgeon's brain could know but 4 at a time. Okay, does that sound familiar? He can only know 4 at a time, even though this is a powerful wizard. He can only know 4 spells. In fact, D&D, if we're comparing it to Vancian, is very generous the number of spells you can actually have. But let's continue a little bit. Turgeon found a musty portfolio, turned the heavy pages to the spell the sage had shown him, the call of the violent cloud. He stared down at the characters, and they burned with an urgent power, pressing off the page as if frantic to leave the dark solitude of the book. Turgeon closed the book, forcing the spells back into oblivion. Okay, so here we have him. Here's the process of him memorizing the spell. It's not, okay, 1 + 1 = 2, 1 + 2 = 3, whatever. It is the spell leaping off the page of the book and burning itself into his brain. His brain that's a powerful wizard's brain, but can only hold 4 of such spells. But that's all cool, right? And I think that is a good kind of selling point to the fiction of it. But looking back through this, I think this next part is what really inspires me when I think about Vancian magic. So let's read on. I'm going to jump forward a couple paragraphs. Then he sat down and from a journal chose the spells he would take with him. What dangers he might meet he could not know, so he selected 3 spells of general application. The excellent Prismatic Spray, Fendel's Mantle of Stealth, and the spell of the Slow Hour. Okay, so this right here, and I'm going to read a little bit more because I want to get this whole story here, is it, right? And I'm going to come back to it, but he doesn't know exactly what he's going to run into, except for one thing. He knows he needs that one spell because he had talked to the sage, right? So he knows that he needs this one spell to do a thing, but he's unsure. So he's going to use his experience to figure out what might be useful. So he takes 3 spells of kind of, general nature. The excellent Prismatic Spray is like a weapon, right? You can hurt somebody with it. The Mantle of Stealth is, of course, a stealthy spell. And I believe, I haven't read through the whole story again, the spell of the Slow Hour is kind of like slow in D&D, basically. It slows things down. But now let's cut back to him a little bit later. The night was wearing on. A blue light wavered in the forest. Turgeon watched a moment, then at last squared himself and uttered the call to the violent cloud. This is the casting of the spell. So one thing that D&D started to make more complicated from what I get from reading Vance's stories is they started adding material components, somatic components, all this. But in most cases, with the spells in Vance, you just utter the spell. You finish it. You spit it out. Shoot it out of your brain. You just need to speak to cast a spell. And I think they gamified, you need to have a hands-free and stuff, but I feel like I actually like this version better. But again, let's go back for a second and talk about the preparation of the spells. So I think Vancian magic is one of those things that is a key component in the sandboxy type of play that I like. So that is to say that I think some people imagine, if they haven't run, oh, Evil Jeff's not going to like this, a true sandbox, that a sandbox just means you put a bunch of things out there and the players wander around and just do stuff. But to me, the depth and the reason to run a sandbox is that the players are building, manipulating, changing, and advancing the world based on their own ideas. And this means that in order for them to do that, they can't just wander around randomly going from adventure to adventure when they see a board that says, oh, look, looking for somebody to be a guard. They can do that at the beginning because maybe they need gold. But the idea of being the caravan guard in and of itself is not enough. They're doing the job of the caravan guard to get gold so they can do something else, possibly buy a treasure map, get some supplies to go on a longer journey, or just have a party, right? But they have their own reasons, right? Every character has their reasons, and as the world grows, as they see different things, they'll encounter more and more challenges, they'll decide what they want to do, and through this, they'll have to make decisions. This is going back to the spells. This character has decided that they want to, a little spoiler for the story, this is like the third page of the book, they want to visit this kind of well-known, legendary, we'll call him, wizard, to get some more information about something they're trying to do. They're trying to build, they're kind of trying to create life, basically. And the thing is that they can't do it. They keep failing. So they're seeking this other wizard to teach them, right? That's kind of the idea. And so this is, again, a goal, right? This is the goal of this character. Turgeon is a character in the game, and they have a goal to learn this ability to create life. And they know they're going into a strange realm, right? They're going to go to another land, and they don't know what they're going to run into. So I didn't read that part, but they take a dagger, they take a magic bracelet with them, and a couple of little like items. But then they also pack, if you will, in their head, the 3 spells that they think might be the most useful. There's really 4 spells. Remember, they can have 4 spells, but the first one is the one that summons the way to go to the new world. So they had to choose that one. And this is the thing. When we are running our game, and if we make the world such that the players will want to explore, but then also go back to places, if the players are inspired enough to see something, know they can't deal with it right now, but make a plan to come back. That is the type of play that I really enjoy, and Vancian magic does that. If you needed a water-breathing spell, but you did not memorize the water-breathing spell, you just need to go back, right? And you need to plan for that. Now but also if we're going to go underwater, you know what? You actually have a lightning bolt memorized. Maybe that's not ideal in the water. Let's switch that up for something else, right? And you make a plan. We're going into this. And one of the things I really love is when my players that play magic users sit down, when they go, okay, we're going to pick our spells because we're doing a thing, and they kind of talk amongst each other. I'm going to take this, you're going to take that. Well, we might need this. And this is exactly the type of preparation and planning that I think is part of the play loop of a sandbox. So for me, I think one of the things that draws me into the Vancian magic is that I like the sandbox play loop, and this helps work that. If I was running something more linear, it becomes more difficult, right? If you're just running a linear thing and they're never going to go back and they get to a wall and they stop because they don't have the right spell, yeah, that's aggravating. But if you're running a world where they will hit obstacles that they cannot solve, but they'll want to come back and there's facility for them to do it, that's when Vancian magic can be its most kind of rewarding, if you will. And I do remember when we first started playing OD&D a couple years ago that there was some frustration because they didn't have the right spells sometimes. But then they, over time, got better at planning, got better at thinking about it, got better at being kind of using the spells in unique ways so that the challenge, right? They became what sometimes people would call player skill. They earned that. They didn't just have a whole list of spells that they could cast anytime they want, because that makes it so you can always just do the thing you want to, which means that you never have to go back. And that's fine, again, if you're running a more linear adventure or campaign. But that's not my favorite type. So I think my favorite type of campaign to run is a big open world sandbox. My favorite magic for D&D is Vancian, because I think they go hand in hand. I would love to know what you think about this. Let me know in the comments below. I'm sure somebody's already started typing some. Check the description for any links that I have down there that you might want to explore, and I'll talk to you soon.